Well, hello everybody and welcome back to BOROBS channel. Firstly, a happy new year from BOROBS to everyone out there. I know it's been a tough 2020, but keep hanging on in there. And hopefully for everyone, 2021 will be a good year and a year full of promise. Hopefully fans will be allowed back into the stadiums. I do miss the atmosphere that football and every sport, to be honest, generates, and that's being missed. And in general, life in general, I hope everyone has a good 2021. Today I'm going to do something interesting, guys. I'm going to talk about Chelsea, Chelsea's managers under Roman Abramovich. All the managers that got sacked, who deserved to get sacked and who didn't. So every manager that has come and gone by, who deserved, in my opinion, who deserved to get sacked and who was unfairly sacked. But before we get to that video, thank you guys if you haven't, for tuning into this video. Please, if you're new, subscribe to this channel. Leave a like on this video, and please get engaged in the comment section and tell me which of the managers that I'll talk about you think deserved to get sacked or was unfairly sacked, should have been backed more. What do you think about the Chelsea managers that I'll talk about? So let's get straight to it, man. Let's get straight to it. Let's start. Let's go chronologically. Let's go all the way back to 2003. 2000 to 2004. Claudio Ranieri, the gentle Italian, the gentleman, the Tinkerman, as Chelsea fans used to call him, because of actually the media. Chelsea fans didn't really call him that. He was a lovely guy, and I think all Chelsea fans really liked him. He actually did not win a single trophy in 4 years with Chelsea, but he did set up what was the team that was then going to go on to win the title. I would say his sacking was, I'm going to be controversial and say, deserved. The reason I'm going to say that is sometimes you'd see a manager and you see this is how far that they can take the team. They can't take it any further. They've reached their ceiling with this team, and that's what the feeling I got with Ranieri. I think he did very well with a young team. He kind of molded a young team together, and he got some experienced players in, like Makalele, who really helped shape Chelsea into a dominant force. But they were still missing that killer touch, that ability to get over the line, to show mental strength, to show the ability to win titles, win ugly, win 1-0 away from home in a rainy day, stuff like that. But that's what I'm going to say he's deserved. It's a bit harsh. It is very harsh. I'm not going to lie. But Claudio Ranieri, for me, deserved to get sacked because even though he did a fantastic job, I think he reached his ceiling with Chelsea. So in 2004, he was let go and replaced by Jose Mourinho. And now, getting on to Mourinho's first run, he was sacked in 2007 after 3 very good seasons, 6 trophies, won the league twice, went to the Champions League semi-finals twice, got knocked out in penalties by Liverpool twice, won the FA Cup, won the League Cup twice, won the league twice. He did he win the FA Cup twice? I don't quite remember. But he had a fantastic team, and basically he kind of made Chelsea in that sense, because Chelsea were not Chelsea were kind of like Spurs are today, but without being the kind of one of the European elites, I guess you could say. But he helped Chelsea turn into one of the European elites. And for me, his first sacking was harsh. It was very harsh. I remember that day. I remember I was in Toronto. I logged into the computer. At the time, I was using a desktop computer, the old school desktop computer with the screens that were the kind of box looking screens. So I was using that computer. I logged in and I go online, and I remember saying Jose Mourinho let go by Roman Abramovich on mutual grounds. I remember that's what it was. But everyone was like, it's a shocking decision. Why would they let him go? I remember the dressing room was crying. Nobody wanted to see him go. None of the players wanted to see him go. For me, to this day, this remains the harshest sacking of the Roman Abramovich era. The first one, the second one rather, was Jose Mourinho when he was sacked in 2007. Now the interim coach Avram Grant, the man that was an interesting coach, wasn't he? This guy was really interesting because Avram Grant was a likable guy. You can't, but he had no credentials to be managing Chelsea Football Club at the time. Mourinho had turned Chelsea into a European super elite, and they were up there with Man United, Barcelona, and Real Madrid to compete for the UCL that season and compete for the league. I remember that season very well, and it was such an unlucky season for Avram Grant. He lost about 3 or 4 finals. It was absolutely ridiculous, but Chelsea actually played good football that year and were very unlucky. I mean, we all remember what happened to John Terry with that slip. And because the standards of the team at the time were very high, like because the team was a world-class team, let's be fair. Every position there was a world-class player and plenty on the bench as well. And because it was so harsh, I remember, man, like losing the Carling Cup final, losing out on the league by 2 points, then losing to Man United, and after actually being better than Man United for most of the game on penalties. It was a crazy, crazy season that ended up with him being sacked, and probably deservedly so, because, well, not really, no. He had a 67% almost win percentage. That's a phenomenal percentage for any manager, especially in English football. And he got sacked. So harsh. I think I'm going to go with harsh, man, because they could have given him one more season at least. Such a harsh sacking. This was not a good move by Chelsea. Felipe Scolari, the man that took Brazil to the promised land in 2002, formulating the trio of Ronaldinho, the great Ronaldo, El Phenomenon, and Rivaldo, that famous trio with that back three and the wing backs of Cafu and Roberto Carlos, a fearsome front five, you could say. One of the all-time great Brazilian teams, a fantastic team to watch. He helped that team win the World Cup, and that glamour that he had, I guess that's what Roman wanted. And we had a lot of flair players at the time, but it was a kind of a football manager kind of move, because he was not experienced in European leagues enough, in my opinion, to take over such a big job. And his win percentage went down by 10% as compared to Avram Grant. I would say that his style of play was better. Definitely, he played a very attractive style of play. He tried to implement whatever he tried to play with Portugal prior to that, and Brazil. It was a free-flowing, beautiful style of play, but it had its limitations, particularly because he fell out, I remember, with Didier Drogba. So he would often play with Anelka as a false nine and 2 wingers coming in. And although at first it worked really nicely, I think teams had figured it out, and they set up with a low block, and it was difficult for us to get by. And that was exemplified in our first defeat at Stamford Bridge after 4 years. I think the run still stands 84 wins or something. And I would say that the sacking was deserved. When he got the sack, it was a very, very bad atmosphere in the club, I remember. The next signing, Guus Hiddink, the thing is, he was never sacked. He kind of, both times he was there, he was on an interim contract. And there was, the first time around, remember, Chelsea tried to renew his contract. So they actually wanted to keep him, but he had commitments with Russia. He had a fantastic win percentage of, actually, if you take away the second time around, he had a fantastic win percentage, something around 68%. But if you include his second time around, then it goes all the way down to 53%. But we're going chronologically, so the first time I'm going to say Chelsea were probably right in trying to keep him, because Chelsea at the time probably did not need a master tactician. What they needed was someone to kind of man manage all the players. And Guus Hiddink, with his kind of fatherly vibe, I guess you could say, really managed the dressing room well. He really managed Drogba well, because Drogba was a leader in the team, an emotional leader, a huge presence in the dressing room. And getting the best out of Drogba was probably Guus Hiddink's best trait. And he was so unlucky. Remember, Champions League semi-final, Iniesta last minute, all the penalties that didn't get given. This was right in the middle of Chelsea's best ever team, and it was a golden opportunity in that year to win the Champions League. And for me, that was probably Chelsea's prime team for the last year, 2009. They had an awesome chance to win the league. They were playing some good stuff in the Champions League. And then we know what happened with the Barca game. Carlo Ancelotti, Don Carlo, the sweetest man there is. Beautiful man, beautiful, beautiful man. Listen to all that beautiful Italian orchestra music. Carlo Ancelotti was probably the second most, it may be on par with Jose, a harsh sacking. Carlo Ancelotti did not deserve to get sacked, in my opinion. No way. Carlo Ancelotti was so harshly sacked. First season around, he won the double with Chelsea, playing some of the best football you'll see. Brilliant football. This was the best I've seen Frank Lampard and Drogba play together. They were absolutely amazing together. And the combination play between him, Lampard, Anelka, Malouda, and Deco, it was really good to watch. And there were some really impressive performances during the season. But ultimately, he won the FA Cup and the league and scored a lot of goals in the process. But he did fail in the Champions League in the round of 16, and deservedly so, against a well-drilled, defensive, pragmatic, and a determined Inter Milan team that went on to win the Champions League. That, to me, as soon as you fail in the Champions League, that to me is strike 1 or 2 when you're under Roman Abramovich. And you will see this trend continue. And Carlo Ancelotti, because he won the double, did not get sacked that season. But for me, he lost, very harsh indeed, but he kind of lost love and that connection with Roman Abramovich when he failed so early in the Champions League. He was desperate to win the Champions League. But then again, you could say that this was also the start of the decline of some of these players. Even though they were able to win the domestic league and win it at a canter, play some lovely stuff, they were declining in the Champions League. And in the Champions League, the level has to be absolutely at the top to keep winning, because it's a knockout competition. You can't afford to have any bad game, and you need your big hitters, your big names to keep performing. And did happen against Inter Milan. Inter Milan deservedly went through, but for me, absolutely harshly deserved, harshly sacked. Second season, remember, Chelsea, against the wishes of Carlo Ancelotti, released 4 or 5 veteran players: Ballack, Deco, Belletti, Joe Cole, and I believe someone else, like Ricardo Carvalho. 5 massive dressing room players for Chelsea in the dressing room, out on the pitch, part of the rotational process. And Chelsea then replaced them with Ramirez, only Ramirez and Benayoun. I remember that was a very disappointing summer for Chelsea, and it kind of left Ancelotti in a very bad place. Chelsea did then go on in January to buy David Luiz and Fernando Torres. David Luiz was very good for Chelsea, but Fernando Torres was a big flop. We all know that. But that was not even, remember, Fernando Torres was not Ancelotti's choice. Ancelotti's choice was Kun Aguero. Moving on to probably the worst manager in Chelsea's tenure. Well, it's debatable because Lamps is doing pretty bad right now. But given the squad of players that he had, Andres Villas-Boas, with a low winning percentage of 47.5%, this young guy came in and he kind of tried to revolutionize Chelsea too early. He tried to introduce younger players, younger legs. He tried to introduce a pressing brand of football, but it was misplaced. It was not well done. It was not researched well enough, in my opinion. He isolated the senior players. There was a situation where John Terry, Ashley Cole, Frank Lampard, Drogba, they were all on the bench together, and I was thinking, man, this guy is not going to last. And he did not last, because he was in a terrible way in the league. He fell out of the top 4. And by the time he got sacked, it was too late to even make it back into the top 4 because they were so far behind. But he definitely deserved to get sacked. Ancelotti did not deserve to get sacked. Villas-Boas, he did. He deserved to get sacked. Villas-Boas deserved to get sacked. Moving on to the next manager, the man that made everybody smile, Roberto De Matteo, the legend, the man that came in with his beautiful bald head. And all he did is manage the players and set up tactically, more pragmatically, because that suited the players. At the age, the players didn't have the legs to press teams like Barca, Madrid anymore, because they were much older than them. They had so what he did is set them up in a low block and use the counterattacks effectively, and that was awesome, because the run to the Champions League final was epic. The win against Napoli at Stamford Bridge, when Chelsea just piled on the crosses, one cross after another cross, and it was just good old British style football, I guess you could say. And I love that run in the Champions League, and even in the FA Cup. And because of this, for me, his sacking was one of the harshest, because next season he was third in the league, and got sacked. Well, it's not really a surprise, considering Ancelotti finished second and got sacked. Scolari himself was third. Scolari's one was more, it was a different feeling. It didn't feel right. and the team was better. This team was a new team with the likes of Hazard, Mata, Oscar, Ramirez, and these guys. And this team was actually doing well in the league. They were not by any means favorites to win the league. But what happened is they got knocked out of the Champions League group stages and got knocked into the Europa League. And once again, you see the trend. As soon as you fail in the Champions League, chop, chop, chop. The sack is on the way. And as soon as Di Matteo, even after winning the Champions League the season before, got sacked the very next year because he failed to qualify from the group stages. Even though then Chelsea went on to win the Europa League, I think the failure in the Champions League really hurt Di Matteo. It was harsh for me. He did not deserve to get sacked. Moving on to Rafael Benitez. Well, I have mixed feelings about Rafa. I really respect him. I really like what he did at Chelsea. And to be fair, he did a very good job. He kept Chelsea at third, and he managed to win the Europa League. And he got knocked out in the semi-finals of both the Carling Cup and in the infamous ball boy incident happened in that semi-final, in the two-legged semi-final. And in the semi-final in the FA Cup, where a clear penalty was not given, I think it was Torres or Juan Mata who was brought down by Company. I remember that so clearly. And for me, he probably merited a chance to manage again, but he wasn't to be. And then Mourinho's second time around, he did a good job. He did a good job for 2 years. First year, he was again similar to the Avram Grant season, but not as high a level, slightly lower level. Chelsea went to a lot of competitions later in the stages and got knocked out. Lost the league by like 3 or 4 points to, I believe, Man City. And Champions League, they went to the semi-finals, and Mourinho scandalously fielded 7 defenders in that game, or 6 defenders, what was it? And completely betrayed the style of play that kind of got him there. I mean, remember, they were 3-1 behind against PSG, and they had to attack. So when they attacked in the second leg, they looked good. But then he reverted back to his natural pragmatic way, and it did not work because that pragmatism really hurt him. But that was not the reason he got sacked. He went to the second season and won the league. Very beautiful. Actually played some really lovely football for the majority of the season. But near the end of the season, he went back to his pragmatic way to kind of win the league. And then he also won the League Cup. But crucially again, Champions League round of 16, he got knocked out when PSG were down to 10 men and Chelsea had the lead for majority of the game. They were knocked out on away goals, and for me that was strike 1 and 2 right there. And then when 2016 started, Chelsea almost went to a relegation zone, and there was no choice. The sacking was deserved. I have to be completely honest. Mourinho's second sacking was deserved because Chelsea were almost in a relegation battle with a team that had won that were champions the season before. Incredible stuff. That's what football is. It can change just like that. It can change just like that. Guus Hiddink came in and kind of finished 10th. I'm not gonna say he didn't probably deserve to get rewarded with another year extension. I didn't think he did well enough, but he kind of calmed the dressing room down enough to stay in the division. It sounds absolutely silly, but honestly, that's what the season was. They got over the 40-point mark. I think they finished with 50 or something, and it was just basically keeping the dressing room stable for Guus Hiddink. Now, the next manager, Antonio Conte. Was absolutely fantastic for me. He was just, his style of play and brand of football was fantastic for a while. It was counter-attacking, but it was not as pragmatic as Rafa or Mourinho. It was more forward-thinking. A lot of wit with the wing-backs. I think he's the manager after Ranieri who loved to play with a lot of wit. He loved wit, and with the wing-backs, it was a joy to watch the first season. Crosses coming in for Moses, headed in by Alonso, the other way around. Inside forwards, Hazard, Villa, and Pedro having a great season. Diego Costa being that battering ram. It was a fantastic season for everyone to see. Heartbreakingly, he did lose the FA Cup final thanks to a scandalous refereeing decision. Alexis Sanchez handed the ball with his hand. You see these refereeing decisions, it keeps happening in the big games against Chelsea, and it's an unfortunate thing, but it's not just against Chelsea. I'm sure it happens against every team apart from Man United, who just got the dodgiest penalty against Aston Villa. Shocking decision by apparently one of the best referees. I think it was Michael Antonio, or Michael Oliver rather. Sorry, and he's apparently one of the best. And that's a shocking decision. Never a penalty. So soft. Might as well stop watching the game if you're going to give penalties like this on a weekly basis. Shocking. But that's for another day. Antonio Conte first season was brilliant. Second season, this is where all the disaster started. Just after the season ended, not consulting his players, not consulting the owner, he decided to send the top scorer of the team of the season, Diego Costa, a text saying, "You are no longer welcome at the club. You will not be playing for Chelsea next season." That caught the entire club, teammates of Costa, and the dressing room, everyone involved, by surprise. And that was the beginning of the end, I have to say. But he lost the dressing room because Diego Costa was so popular, and he was kind of the mental leader. Because Chelsea were not a tough team. This Chelsea was not blessed with mental toughness. Diego Costa was the guy that galvanized his team. They had a lot of talented players like Cesc, Eden, Pedro, Willian, and all these guys. But it was Diego Costa who was the mental giant of this team. Antonio Conte did not deserve to get sacked. Even though the second season was a bit of a nightmare, he did salvage the season by winning the FA Cup, finished 3 or 4 points behind the top 4. If he was given the team that he has today, he would win the league. I'm telling you now, he would win the league. That's how good of a manager he is. Maurizio Sarri, Sarri ball, suffer ball, whichever way you see it. Maurizio Sarri came in and took over a dressing room that was used to playing a certain way, and then he kind of flipped the script and turned a counter-attacking team, a fast team, a team that was athletic and liked to play quick counter-attacking football, to a possession-based team. And this was a massive culture change. But it actually, to his credit, even though the football might have been absolutely boring sometimes, when it mattered most, he played great football. In the FA Cup final, he absolutely bossed it. He absolutely bossed it. It was an absolutely a perfect display of how to play possession football that day. Arsenal could not get a kick, and Chelsea won the game deservedly 4-1. And for me, even though he wasn't sacked, I think he would have been sacked, honestly. And I would say that the sacking would have been harsh, because even though the brand of football was not the liking of Chelsea fans, he, in my opinion, did not deserve to get sacked, because he won the Europa League. He finished third. He lost the Carling Cup on penalties and actually playing very well against a Man City team that were, I think, Centurions that season. So, all things considered, he actually did a good job. The brand of football wasn't very good, but if you look at results, he did a much better job with a worse squad than what Frank Lampard is doing this season. So these were the managers, man. These were the managers. Let me know what you guys think. Man, so many managers we covered. So many managers, so many different styles of play, different eras of football. Almost two and a half generations, you could say, of football. Actually, yeah, 1.5 generation of football, which is still a long time. 15, 20 years of football. A lot of managers, man. Exciting. A lot, great times, some sad times. It was basically my life for the majority as a Chelsea fan. And man, oh man, what a journey it has been. All these managers, all this different style of play, trophies, sackings, everything else. Also, it was right, man. I wouldn't change it for anything. I would not change it, man. That everything culminated that night in May 19th, 2012. The greatest night in Chelsea's history, and the greatest night in my personal history as a sports fan supporting Chelsea. It was just a emotional roller coaster. That journey to the Champions League, no matter what Chelsea win from now on, what they've won in the past, what they win in the future, that will be the lasting memory of my life. It will go with me to my graveyard. That's where it's going, and it's probably going to be the last thing I think about before I die. Seriously, that was just something else. Winning that damn Champions League against all odds, the way we did it, it was just beautiful that season. That Champions League trophy, May 19th, Roberto De Matteo, take a bow for giving me the best memory I can possibly have. And it is what makes Chelsea the biggest club in London. It's a fact, bro. It's a fact. Even though right now we're shit, We're still bigger than Arsenal. Oh yes, we are. And Spurs, you can just there's the door. Spurs, you're not even in the conversation. Leave. Anyways, guys, this was the video, man. Please leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. Tell me which managers you think were worthy of the sack. Tell me which managers impressed you. And tell me what you think about Frank Lampard. What is his current situation? It looks like the club is backing him, so I'm gonna back him too. I'm more leaning towards out, but the club is backing him. I'm not gonna bark towards something that leads to nothing. So I'm just gonna hope that Frank Lampard turns it around. He is a young manager. It's a bit like the team. He's a young manager, and the team is a young team. They're both inconsistent, and this is the part of the process. Unfortunately, we are probably failing more than we should, but that's what it is. That's football. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in, man. I will get back to you later. I'm gonna get back after the Man City game. Hopefully, we win. Until then.